Hi everyone! Welcome to Euphoria. Happy time zone. It's good to see you on this lovely month of Mech Temper. My name is Aida. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a Latina woman of color. Happy Latin Heritage Month. I have tan skin, dark eyes, a dark medium length, textured wavy hair, and I'm wearing a very comfy gray hoodie with a rainbow Atari logo on it. You probably can't see. And this is your first time, you're in a wonderful community, a wonderful place called Euphoria, and we're all about uplifting and celebrating and geeking out about TTRPGs, particularly those that are within, from, and enjoyed by the TTRPG community that is based here in Europe. There is so much amazing TTRPG content out there, and I have to say, my own impressions when it's typically in English, one defaults to it being based in the US. And we're here to declare there is a thriving community beyond the US, namely here in Europe, that is also filled with talented, cool, diverse people out there, and we're all about that. Also, because we don't want to wake up at 2 in the morning anymore. So, you're here in the month of Mechtember. Check your calendars, they've automatically been changed to say Mechtember instead of September. And that's because this month we are celebrating all of the delicious, wonderful stories that are fueled by mechs. What is a mech? Check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/euphoria at euphoria to really understand what a mech is or isn't. And if you disagree, please kindly leave a friendly rebuttal in the comments. If you agree, please flood the comments at the YouTube with all the emojis and your affirmations. So thank you, Darcy. I see someone is spamming chat commands. All the information about Mechtember, where to find us, can be found below in the description and in the chat. If you're part of the super cool European-based community, please come and join us. Have lots of fun things to talk about. Today, I am going to be playing a solo game. It's just going to be little old me enjoying some, I think, well-deserved time off to finally play a game. For me, as content, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless. I am going to be playing Ironheart, and Ironheart is a solo mech exploration RPG by Parabel Heart. Parabel Games was based in the UK. And I'm gonna be a little guy in another little guy that is actually a really big metal mech. And I have here the quick start to the game as you see on the screen, and I'm gonna be going through this document. I believe the entire game is not out yet or was recently undergoing crowdfunding, so get word to get a full copy. We might revisit that one day. But I'm going to be here for about 90 minutes to maybe max 2 hours because spoons and times, to see how far this adventure gets me. I'm going to be journaling along with the rest of you, or if you want to along, I'm going to be writing down my handbook because I am an analog learner. I have to write something to really understand it and get it. I'm going to be scrolling through this PDF with you, and I'm going to be playing the game raw for the first time. If you enjoy this game, please reach out to Parable Games. Check out the quick start, maybe get the full game, which, as I am correct, did indeed just release. Links will be included below. Love on some mechs and love on your Europe creators. I don't really have any content warning to go through because this is a game that will be created as we go. I am not going to engage in any of the bad phobias or the bad isms. I'm personally someone who is not fond of using terms. If there is something that I feel, that might cause a distress to a wider population, a wider audience, I might just do a visual cue and say, hey, mute here until you see my hands wave again. So we'll try to resolve it in that way because as the audience, your comfort really also matters. I'm going to be taking care of myself too. That's the joy of a solo RPG game. I'm going to do that. So without further ado, let's get into what Ironheart really is. Scroll, 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 scroll. Scroll, 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 scroll. Ironheart, sort of story beats and moods, is inspired by games or media like Gurren Lagann. We talked about this in the panel. Check out the VOD on our YouTube. The Mass Effect series, Fem Shep, Best Shep. Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from the Mercury. Yes, we love giant mechs with lesbians. All of them, please. Vision of Escaflowne. We love sad stories. We love romance. We love change. We dig a really good soundtrack you can belt at a karaoke when you're a teenager in the night. And all these awesome, really cool cornerstones. So that kind of gives me the feel it's going to be sort of a cozy game. Seeing these sort of inspirations tell me there might be some conflict, but I don't necessarily need to transform or like do anything ridiculous. I hope not to go through them because I'm in a kind of cozy mood. Maybe I won't be. We'll see. And I'm just going to read verbatim the action. In the far future, in a galaxy not so far away, war has waged amongst the stars for many years. But now there is peace, and the once mighty mechanized armies are disbanded, and their pilots disparate and searching for purpose. There are always adventures to be had, battles to be fought, and a peace to be protected, all from the pilot's seats of your very own mech. What life will you lead amongst the stars of the ocean? Cool. So we are in a post-war world, some sort of recovery happening. Maybe peace might be tenuous, and across all the media that I've consumed personally, mechs have primarily been used as a weapon of something utilitarian, but primarily for war. They were weapons. They were engaged in violence. They were tools of intimidation, tools that drove sort of violent change. I'm thinking like Lelouch of the Rebellion, for example, where strategy and mechs were really the thing that overwhelmed other armies to enforce regime sort of change. I don't know where sort of Lelouch Rebellion, as an anime reference, sort of worlds, but we're going to develop that together. So, according to the PDF, Ironheart is a solo RPG game where the pilot, that's going to be me. I'm going to be the pilot today. My character, not Aida. I tried to join. I was curious about joining the U.S. Air Force. I'm U.S. by birth, U.S. citizen by birth. After seeing Top Gun, I thought it was really cool. But then I learned there was a height requirement back then, and I never really grew beyond that. So dreams dashed. I know better now. But in this game, my character will be a pilot, going to be flying around the universe with my friend. And the point is also that the mech is going to be my friend. We're going to develop a relationship, develop over the game. I'm not going to play the game to like the max levels, that you say. One, because it's a quick start, and two, time constraints, but we're going to have fun. Required to play this game are this PDF, a journal, some method of writing down what you've accomplished. So I got a book here. D6, six-sided die, which I will be rolling on screen to randomize encounters and resolve the challenges they put forward, which is typical role-playing game experiences. Someone in the chat is recalling that I have to be human to play this. Back to that. The game is going to give me lots of prompts, sort of challenge me, drive a story, force me as a character to make decisions. And these decisions, as someone who has GM'd and played a lot of these games with other players, the juicier the decision, the harder the decision, me personally, sometimes better the story. But again, we're going cozy. So I'm going to do that then. All right, so we have a bit of a quick guide, what I need to play. 5 or more six-sided die, these sixes, we got those. You're going to see them rolling across the screen. I have a character sheet. I do have that, and I'll be flipping to that as necessary. Something to write on, type on. Yep. Very good. And we're going to be essentially writing logs. I'm going to sort of dictate to narrate my logs instead of writing them out because I don't think it's fun for you to see me like write out full paragraphs with my head kind of pointed down. So we'll narrate that. And the quick start has a couple of suggestions what I can do. Things like I will be arriving on a planet, discovering a settlement. I am going to select a circuit, a pre-made story path, path A or path B. There might be combat, there might be travel encounters. Who knows where the night will take us? A typical journal entry might look like this. So the PDF suggests like here is a planet that was rolled up, an imaginary date, a time. Journal entry with a pithy title. Ooh, pithy titles. Something that happened in that day, what your feelings were, TLDR, the result of some checks, some dice rolls, and sort of your feelings about that. Your mech's feelings as well. Right? Mechanically, we're going to be making quite a lot of checks. I will do my best to keep scrolling back and forth in the PDF to remind myself of that mechanic as I go forward with this. Personally, I have to say, I love a PDF that actually links with PDF. If the final version has that. If not, recommendation for next time. You're welcome. How we have to start our exploration and the story circuit. I believe we will pick from two of them. The setting. This game is set in the far future, in an interstellar conglomerate of cultures known as the Astral Union, or the AU. Sustained through diplomatic efforts, the vast systems have been forged into a near-utopian federation. We love that. Where peace reigns. The thick-haired Irvin trades wares for the mighty constructor forges with cold-blooded Varsis merchants. Proud Curve navigators guide freight ships piloted by Apollonian deck crew. People from every culture mingle alongside another in vast expanse of planets. That's cool. That strikes me as very Star Trekky. I love Star Trek, the idea, the concept, more than things like Star Wars. Write me about it next time. Because sort of this world where you supposed where the original challenges of climate warming, of scientific breakthroughs related to like diseases and health, economics and fairness were sort of all solved, and we could focus outward in this sort of Star Trek world. So I kind of feel that's what's happening in this Astral Union. I'm a big fan of. I have a mech. Mechs in this case are mass-produced piloted machines. That is the definition of a mech according to this game. Mechs are used for everything from agricultural gathering to courier service to construction contracts. But beforehand, they may have been as weapons, as war implements. But now we sort of have these leftover big machines, and we have to be creative with them. They can still be utilitarian. We can change our understanding, and we can sort of rewrite going forward about them. I like that. In the days of calamitous wars waged by legions of battle mechs are long gone. Many of the towering machines are now retrofitted to help build rather than destroy. Great. Awesome. Both bands of pilots still operate as mercenaries, which can take a long gamut of a very wide definition. Adventurers and peacekeepers on the fringes. And at the dangerous and ungoverned edges of the Astral Union, colonists frequently settle new worlds. Not me personally. People travel from every culture, species, and background to begin new lives here with fresh hopes of existence. You are an adventuring pilot. The story begins as you touch down on the world. As you touch down on one of these worlds alongside your trusty mech. Cool. We learn a bit about what the mechs are, the war, and there is something unique about these mechs called the Ion Core. And maybe, just maybe, that like cool little rotating, that's our ion core. That's like the heart of our mech. The ion core system was developed by the Kirve for war against the Irvon as a way of increasing their pilots' reaction times. The Kirve are renowned for their study of latent psionic potential in all sapient beings, and it is believed this would help them develop the mind-machine connection known as the sync bond. Ion cores tended to be installed in advanced mech units and only interact with pilots who can interface with them correctly. The ion core itself, advanced AI system, lives and grows over time and will inevitably develop new habits to synchronize. Some say a personality of its own. So I am literally, my pilot is making a mech friend through their emotional experiences. Oh, sweet. All right. To keep things moving along, I have actually already created a character because I kind of want to focus on the mech part. I'll be the pilot the whole time on. I rolled earlier for my pilot's body, what kind of origin they have, what kind of personality they have as well. I'm gonna kind of scroll through quickly to get to the game. By the way, this art is lovely, is cozy, is very storybook-esque. It's lovely to see and sets me a nice sort of adventuring mood. Art does so much to set the mood. Like, if I were describing the art about Free League's Alien RPG, that evokes a very different mood, and I feel that this art is evoking the right mood for Iron Heart. So, pilot generation, I'm read through it because I already did that. There are multiple species, heritage, people of different heritages, backgrounds. The book, I believe, called them species, sentient species. And you can roll for Apollonian, Varsis, so humans, reptilian, bear-like mammals, winged nocturnal citizens, tall centurion beings, and feline people. I had originally rolled a 5, and I am a Kirve, a tall centurion being from the Kirvean prefecture. The Kirve, and I'm going to pronounce it Kirve from here on, adapted early Irvon combat mechs, so the bad guys in the war that ended, to implement the semi-sentient ion core system in battle. There was some sort of emotional brainwave connection to your mechs, a la Evangelion or a la Pacific Rim, for example. Although all sentient species have the potential to develop psionics, the Kirve have a particular reputation for manifesting them. So I'm a horse girl. I am a horse girl. I am a literal horse girl. Right? You can roll for your sort of pilot goals. Adventure forth, return from home, escape from the past. I'm adventuring type. My pilot is an adventuring type. Roll for temperament. My pilot happens to be an outgoing, adventurous pilot. That's already very positive. You can also roll and get results like reflective or mercurial. And the type of temperament can also give you status bonuses. In this case, my outgoing trait gives me a +1 to pilot presence. Give you an idea of what my like up. That looks. So that's my character sheet. I have named my character Saasi. This is because I chose this name because my native language is Spanish, so I learned Spanish before English. My parents were immigrants from America in the United States. And I would point up at the sky and try to say stars in Spanish. And the Spanish word for stars is estrella. And I couldn't say this in my adorable toddler. So instead of saying estrella, I would just say Saasi, Saasi. So I'm going to name my horse girl Saasi, with the sort of an inclination or the sort of bestowment, like she is the stars, the kind of temperament she have. She is a Curve pilot. Her origin is Curve, so she is a horse girl. for appearing, it has a centurion body, so a human torso and horse body bottom part, so 4 legs on a long horse body. Over that horse part of her body and legs, the short hair is going to be very, very dark blue. And all of the other hair on the humanoid part of her torso, so eyebrows, eyelashes, head from her hair, armpit hair, what have you, is going to be very white. So think of like a cow from D&D, but cooler and horse. It's going to have a very thick and long, like French Dutch braid going from her forehead all the way down past her torso, a la Rumi from K-pop Demon Hunters, for example. White, stark, stark white. And she has braided into her braid several like little LEDs, right? I don't, you know what? Because she is Kirve and sort of does have sort of psionic abilities, I will say that she can, it's very, she's used to turning these lights on and off. If she feels happy, she's gonna like make them rainbow colors. If she feels sad, they might completely go dark or red or something like that. I'm not going to really get into telekinesis or things like that, I don't know. But I will say that at the very least, an expression of her emotion, sense, and outgoingness is these cute little sparkling LEDs fitted into her. She wears overalls that leave her 4 horse legs bare, and she wears a like sort of grease-stained, well-worn, comfy jacket, like that's like white, sort of mechanic vibes that cover her arms. Right. And that is what I understand to be my character sheet. We're going to now together be talking about our mech or my mech. So I'm going to create that mech with you. So let's sort of get into that character. Cool. Aw, what is it doing? Oh, it has like a, I guess it's kind of using this giant 2-handed buster sword as a scythe to cut grass. That's handy. Would goats be more or less efficient? Flying mech with buster grass. Don't underestimate goats' ability to take down grasses. Really? Okay, building a mech. We're gonna build a mech. Mechs are typically built from constructor templates licensed by corporate manufacturers, but experienced pilots inevitably customize them. Petrol motor drive, battery, I have an almost limited power supply. My mech is my transport. See the panel listed on our YouTube. My weapon, maybe, maybe not, has the capacity for weapons, and my constant companion in the story. Mechs act as walking and flying tanks in situations. No, and we're going to generate some characteristics. Mechs come in light, medium, and heavy classes. Chunky mech, medium mech, and maybe more agile mech. Your mech weight class will establish your starting mech shielding as well as your brawn and reflex modifiers. So I'm going to roll for everything. I'm going to leave everything up to chance. Okay. My mech will also include ranged offensive system, a melee offensive system, and an auxiliary system, and I will roll for each of those 3 categories. So first things first, let's roll for our mech weight class. I believe 1d6. What happened there? All right, I rolled a 1. You probably see I rolled a screen. Thank you, dice. So I have a light mech. Cool. My weight, I'm gonna just type that directly into PDF and I'll show you later. Light mech. That gives me a mech shielding max of 34. I have a mech reflex +1. These things here. I have a -1. I have a total of 3 attacks. Cool. Cool. Let's roll for these weapon systems. Happens. Okay. I'm going to roll a d6 and half. Let's roll that. I rolled a 5. I have a molecular whip. Okay. Here we go. Let's write down. I have a, pardon the typing if it's loud, please let me know. A molecular whip, I can do a total damage of 4 plus d6. And bonus, copy paste. Minimize the click. That's what the cool. Add a +1 to hit weapon when in combat. Guess that will get explained. Cool. Rolling for my ranged offensive system. Again. I rolled a 6. I have a railgun. Cool. All right. Railgun. Railgun does a damage of, ooh, that's 8. Compared to the other ones at least. 8 plus a d6. And you must use up 2 attacks in combat to make attack with this. That's the balancing there. Cool. All right. And then I get to roll for the auxiliary system. 6 again. I rolled a 1. I have ablation armor. That means we roll 2 failed defense rolls per combat, which that will be ablation armor. Minimize me scrolling up and down. Cool. Okay, so that is the weapon system of my mech. I get to pick now a mech specialization. These were old battle mechs, and now I get to sort of what is the priority function of my mech as it refitted to build instead of destroy. When your pilot leaves your mech, if you happily revert to a specialization. So it does these things autonomously. Aw, that's sweet. Okay, cool. I like that. So I'm gonna roll a d6 and see what I get from this option. Pop. I rolled a 2. It's a shepherd. The mech will care for local animals, helping them cross streams and generally fussing. That is the sweetest thing ever. Okay, let's copy paste. I love that. That's cool. Now we get in the PDF takes us to leveling. Every time you complete a story circuit, your character increases 1. You begin your 1. I believe I'll only be doing 1 circuit for okay. So for level 1 for now, we have ink bond of 2, total 2 offensive systems, 1 auxiliary system, 3 attacks. I do have indeed 2 offensive systems. I have 1 auxiliary system. It have 3 attacks. My mech specialization is indeed the shepherd. Bond 2. Okay, so I can click in. Cool. Ticked 2 for my ion core sync bond. So if in the future I go forward with this game, I can add more things to my mech and sort of level them up. Nice. All right, character sheet summary. I have a name. My pilot's name is Saasi. 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 As toddler Aida was probably trying to say Estrella. Where my pilot is from. My pilot origin is Kirve, which is a horse girl. Temperament, outgoing. My goal, she's an adventurer. My pilot presence is a +1, the outgoing temperament. And my pilot body is 0. I don't have any other bonus. Level 1, force and quant 2. Mech shield. Oh, 34. 34. Mech name. My mech needs a name. Holy moly. It's a mech that autonomously likes to care for animals, has a whip, a railgun, lights. I'm going to name my mech Kid. Like a kid goat. Kid. Hi, Kid. Yeah. Pronouns. They, it. Kid. I feel that's something you can say all ranges of your mech's name. Loves animals. Maybe it has fun with other kids. Goats. Aw. Mech weight, light, attacks, 3. Mech brawn. Develop. Alright, and this is what a sample character sheet would look like. Get a mech quirk. Yeah, that comes later. 33. Okay. And just for transparency, the spirit of sharing, this is what my sheet looks like so far. So here's my pilot with the traits I mentioned. Here are the mech details so far. The PDF doesn't have text boxes, so I'm just kind of manually adding them. Acrobat Reader. Something to improve for next time. Working for me so far. That's what my sheet looks like. Okay, when I'm playing the core of the mechanic, and we'll be starting soon because the time. I'm going to be controlling my pilot in and out of the mech. I will roll certain things for difficult and dangerous actions. Roll a d6. Rolls of 4 and over will usually be successful unless stated otherwise. If not, it's unsuccessful. Your pilot can push themselves to the breaking point and beyond using a heroic action to pass a check without automatic roll to die using a sync bond. So I have 2 of those. So I can sort of push. I can use the relationship bond I have with my mech to do something extraordinary. Only do that twice in the scope of this playtime. I need to make a presence check whenever I need to convince or intimidate another character, or use their perception or deductive reasoning. So use a presence check for, I guess, social sort of thing. A body check when I have to perform feats of strength or dexterity. And I have to a heroic action when I fail, or if I fail a check, I can use a heroic action to automatically pass it. Counts as having used a sync bond for that day. Cool. As I am piloting my mech stand between 10 and 20 meters tall, down to allow the pilot to access the cockpit. There has to be another word for that, right? Right, internet? Right? Because all the first pilots of mechanized vehicles were likely men. They were in a pit. They were cis men. But what if they're not all cis men? I don't want to call it a cockpit anymore. Internet, find me a new word. Make a new word. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, you're really good at making words, right? Skibbity. When left to their own devices, the mech can revert to their specialization. My mech will find an animal and care for it. They are capable of short-range flight, traveling up to 1 minute at a time. Okay. A mech will do brawn checks when they carry out difficult actions relying on strength or toughness, holding up collapsing buildings, etc. Which will be d6 of your mech brawn. 4 and over is a success. A reflex check is when they need to react quickly. For example, dodging the way out of falling rubble, or like chasing after chickens. A reflex 6 with your modifier. 4 and over is a success. Let's see. The mech's iron core can communicate with the pilot voice channels, synaptic resonances, projected holograms, sometimes appearing as talking animals. Perpetual motor drives feed off the mech's movement, yielding a power supply. Cool. You like that. Like an environmental hack. Ow. Kind of wish that was part of how does your telepathic send feelings? You know what? Because my horse girl, Saasi, has these LED braided through her hair that she can psionically use to complement whatever emotion or feeling she wants to quote, I'm gonna say that the mech's interior, so piloting area, or even the exterior, has all these lights, and Kid communicates to Saasi through colors and flashes of light. Right? There is this Saasi knows what X number of light flashes mean. It's almost binary. Let's say it's some other advanced version of binary that Saasi can read or understand. Aida, the player, does not know binary. So I'm just going to be making random flashes, and they understand each other through flashes of light and certain colors of light. Right? So maybe a happy mood is just both of them like having like rainbow waves. All right. Let's get going the actual gameplay. When you start your adventure, hopefully the final version of little grammar things, you should roll to determine what kind of environment you're placed in, or at least where it starts. So let's do it together, and I'm going to write down what I roll so I can refer to that. So have a table of a biome type. So let's roll a biome type. This sort of world has a steaming. Cool. And then we're going to arrive at a settlement. If you arrive at a settlement, you must roll below to determine its size and composition. All settlements have buildings shown across a standard. Roll to generate a settlement. Cool. You have to ask me twice to roll the table. I've rolled a 6. So the settlement in the world that is sort of full of steaming villages is a sprawling municipality. With more than 200 buildings, over 1,000 people, and there are times 4 settlement amenities. Settlement halls, mech workshops, trading posts, spaceport. Cool. So I guess if you had rolled the 3 other options, you could only pick 1 or 2 or 3 of the options below. But as a sprawling municipality, I get all of those. So that's done. So in there, I have a settlement hall. I have a mech workshop where I take Kid to like get a fresh paint job, run diagnostics. I assume as a pilot, I'm very well versed in how to take care of my kid. Oh, and a trade post and a spaceport. Adorable. Oh no, this is what. Settlement amenities. Roll a d6 for the number of amenities below. Re-roll duplicate result. Every day you may. Okay, so I get to roll 4d6 and let's do that then. All right, 1. 1, 2, 3. I'll re-roll that 3. 5. So I get a watering hole. 2 watering holes, rest and relaxation, like a sort of spa, or this world has a spa, and 5 a library. Yes, love it. Find local government council, mayor, learn about going ons. Upon a successful present check, okay, so that'll be in. I have a mech workshop. Oh no, okay, I get that and these other things. Cool. I do have the settlement hall, mech workshop, one whole, settlement hall, mech workshop, trade post, and spaceport. Plus the watering hole, friends, body check to partake in an ill-advised competition bar. That kind. I was literally thinking like a hole of water. Manatees live there because we're marshes or something. Or friendly crocodiles. Okay, a bar. A bar. Got 2 of those. Rest and relaxation. Sometimes ongoing crises, combat stress, and attacked by killer mercenaries. Much. And you just may need to. Cafes, day spas, and holistic mind. Gain a single temporary sync on point once. So I can go do some R&R, get additional temporary sync. I also get a library ability. Tomes and records covering everything from interstellar histories to academic texts to trashy romance novels. Very, very important. Trading post. Roll on each of the tables below to see what their stock is available. Your mech can swap on weapons or auxiliary. You know what? I'm gonna pass on that. I'm not. I hope for now. I may be really corrected later. I'm not too interested in further changing and customizing the weapony part of my mech. Traveling encounters. Traveling between locations and settlements. Chance of encountering travelers for better or worse. Roll a dice once when traveling between. Plus, you have an encounter. Select to miss encounters after finishing node. So, as I'm going through a circuit node, I have to sort of do all of the encounters. After I finish one, I can sort of choose to fast forward. So it's like the Pokemon equivalent where you meet eyes with someone in the tall grass and they gotta come on over. Okay. And we will roll to see whether or not those are friendly, hostile. And there is kind of friendly areas or hostile there are. Oh, within each category. Cool. Friendly includes like a traveling merchants, surveyors and scientists, couriers, nomadic trains, herding animals, refugees, pack. Mysterious encounters include things with adventure with your tensions, mech who claim to be local. I guess that's the pilot and their mechs rather than autonomous mechs. A static mech that is online in the watches. I don't know. A person who are needing help and rescue, standoff, heavily armed caravan, or hostiles are like wars, combat level thing. Ooh. I hope I don't run into those. I'm down for I'm down for conflict. It always has to be the violent type, especially in the sort of post-war world. But they did say that there are frontiers or borders where the law or this sort of society hasn't really gotten a hold on yet. Talking about combat. You know what? We can probably address this when story circuit leads me to combat. Okay. I'm going to have to roll initiative or panic. For plus, your mech has initiative. Apply your mech's reflex modifier. I have a +1 to. I guess I can use. I have a choice of my ranged, melee, or engage step. Running away is a valid tactic. I can run away, disengage, exit combat, and move back to the exploration phase, or begin the next combat round with step versus. Okay, interesting. So the violence may try to engage me, but I don't have to. I'm not obliged to automatically engage with aforementioned violence. I like that option. We can attack based on its level 1. These can be split between ranged and melee steps as you. If you opt to make no attacks in one step, you receive a -1 to the step. So if I choose not to attack, I will have less defense. So if I choose to disengage step, I'm going to be more vulnerable to someone else's violence reacting with. Okay. So that is a thing I might have to balance sometimes. So the game is saying sometimes running away is going to can be painful, and sometimes you might quote unquote have to fight. Interesting. Enemies have a number of attacks equal to their threat levels. Big enemies, not so big enemies, more and less dangerous enemies. If you wish, your mech may attempt to disengage. Roll a d6 mech engage. Mech reflex modifier on a 5+, your mech successfully disengages. Holy moly, that's hard. Okay, you have to roll a 5 or 6 for your mech to disengage. Yikes. Or my shielding might go. We have some art of mech with like launching rockets and a tail clearly for counterbalancing. And there are days where I'm like, yes, give me chunky Gundam, give me unicorn horn, give me that like buzz razor sword, give me the photon cannons, give me all the things. Yes, today's one of those. Ion Core. Next, use the AI program known as Ion Core, not Gen AI, as a society, but Ion Core is almost going to grow as an entity. Emotions. It is synchronized through prolonged synchronization will see neurological change within the AI itself, within the Ion Core, sort of glowing thing in the corner. As the bond grows, the mech will begin moving beyond being but a cool. So it's sort of retrofitted. So Kid has been retrofitted, but it probably retains a lot of its original addicts or programming. But the more I interface with Kid and the longer the story goes, maybe the more likely, the easier it is for my mech Kid disengage from battle to avoid the combat or to disincentivize potential enemies from trying to fight with me. Like, yo, just don't. Pilots can overcharge their mech systems and building output at a risk to their pathway. Engage the Ion Core in exploration or combat. Actions from pilot can safely think bond point. Got to. After the action has been resolved roll comma there. On a result of 1, the mech shielding some damage. my max shield. I'm gonna quickly pop in counter. Find that analog method back thing. I have an old HP tracker. It looks like back when I used to like run games like D, and I would have like all these alt tabs of like enemies, etc., etc. The one that mattered were my own character with all the tabs and spells open. The one I had on my counter. Mech has 34, not 36. Also reflected on my character. Okay. So I get to engage Ion Core to the following. A heroic push. When a mech fails the mech brawn or mech reflex, they automatically pass it. Shield full power! Increase mech shielding by 3 once per day. I will save you! Another being would come to harm with instead of the mech, they can suffer 2d6, ouch, of mech shielding damage, but they protect the other creature, person or mech from harm. So, ducks are crossing the road, and my mech that someone is potentially not going to slow down on time, brakes aren't working, but the baby ducks crossing the road will be safe. No harm will come to them. Potentially at some mechanical harm to my mech to kid. That kind of. Meteoric Thunderstrike. Use this ability at the start of a combat round. You may attack this combat round using a weapon. During the melee step attack, this attack hits the target automatically and adds plus. Evasive maneuvers. Use this ability during the melee or range step. For the duration of that step, you can attacks, but all rolls to defend are successful unmodified or an unmodified 2+ rolls. Lightning fast reflex. Use this in the engage step after. Now have initiative for the next round of combat. So, I'll have to look that up. I thought disengagement means like you've escaped battle, right? You fled battle. The sounds when you leave a Pokemon battle is like heard in the background. Quirks, rolling, and more things. Your mech's ion core will develop idiosyncrasy time as it interacts with your pilot more. These might create some interesting contrast. Mech balancing out your pilot's worst impact, vice versa. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's roll. 1. Oh no! Okay, as a quirk, my mech has the trait or the quirk of an revenger. It will not stop. When in combat with an enemy you have fought before, you make an extra free attack in that. So something about it is like really wanting to engage in that combat, like at a more ruthless level. I don't want that for kid. For kid. We gotta like program that out. Okay. But the dice have determined that sort of contrast of the outgoing kind mech I have. That is sort of fuel for a really good story. We sort of push and pull, and we see how we can pull kid away from that. But kid sometimes is going to be drawn in. That's going to soul searching, inner emotional conflict, outer emotional conflict, violence. Mech will sustain damage. That's stimulated by a mech shielding, which I have here on the counter, listed as 34, also 8. If your mech, you're shielding, your mech will be disabled and unable to fight. Basically, what happens is there is no death. Your mech isn't quote unquote destroyed, but the enemies will essentially get to prevail. But you do sort of get like Deus Ex Machina out of there. Your mech will get out, but your mech will have sort of a battle scar noted here. So if this happens, if my shielding goes down to 0, my mech will GTFO, but not before the villain sort of wins its goal. The instigator, antagonist wins its goal. Hi Raiders, welcome in. Hi Leonor, thanks for coming in. We're playing a solo game called Iron Heart, and we're kind of going over our mech. I hope your gaming was really nice, and we're doing some cozy solo playing here. I'm talking about what happens if your mech's shielding goes down to 0, its HP goes down. The mech will Deus Ex Machina out, but something will happen. We will roll if/when that happens in the table there. There are enemies you might encounter in this story. The mechs come from different worlds, which might thus result in them having different physical, mechanical traits. Cool. It's suggesting here that mechs from the Kirve people have themselves a centaur-like construction with 4 legs or broad tank tread base. Say that 10 times fast. I haven't really decided what my mech visually look like, but that's a good key. Okay, and here are the sort of enemies of mechs I can encounter under stats. So I guess the game will will have me roll on what kind of mech I will encounter, and then what stats I need to keep in mind for them. Dinner said they played some spooky games, so I'll have some dinner. Have a mentioned you were in the Netherlands, so smakelijk. That's bon appetit in Dutch. Zenith Trooper, Zenith Enforcer. Those words before. Gundam. Garen Strider. Charlotte Shield. Charlotte Classians or Advance and Fury. Give me something with shield breaking, shield wielder, shield maiden. I'm immediately love. Badass name. Okay. Ooh. Hydrating. We are going to go along a story circuit. I will roll a die to determine whether I take story A, this mech circus, or line B, protecting. I am really immediately drawn to just protecting the herd, just because that is my mech specialization and I kind of want to see action. I would assume that each has a bit of both. I'm going to say that dice roll aside, I like rolling dice. I'm going to roll anyway. I think I'm just going to go with protecting them. But let's see if dice gods are going. I'm going to roll that d6. And we won a 4 or a 6. That didn't happen. No, I know it rolled a 1, but it's my stream, it's my story. And I'm going to, I don't know, laugh in the face of the dice gods and say, oh, with protecting them. I think that's hacking. All right, so I'm going to go on the pre-planned story circuit labeled protecting them. Pro tip. Make sure to remember your mech's non-combat specialization can give you situations if you are creative with it. That's why you play RPGs. In situations where you judge that your mech specialization to an edge, add +1 to the check. So that's really important. I'm literally basing it on the title of the story circuit about the herd, that there will be herds. So when my mech uses its shepherd specializations, I will get a +1 to it. I will forget that, so I'm going to handily write that down. If mech specialization is relevant, let's add +1. Check. Box around that. Cool. Right, so I'm going to skip past the mech circuit. Go to out or just play and all right, and we'll do this for like hour, maybe an hour and a half before we go to watching this rest of content that we have as part of September here on Euphoria. So, story circuit, protecting the herd. When exploring a rural town surrounded by rolling green, you hear a commotion from a lively discussion is taking place between a large group of concerned farmers. Something or someone has been interfering with their herd of malhoons, giant peaceful grazing. I guess they look like that. And considering that they look like giant round goats with 4 horns curling across their long, fluffy, round bodies. The fact that the perspective suggests that compared to a mech, they might even come to like knee height on a mech. These things are massive. Fluffy. The Malhoun. Many have been disappearing from the flock, which is not in their nature. Some of the farmers suspect rustlers stealing livestock, or others whisper rumors of a rare Titan beast that have been attacking on their herds. Either way, they need help to protect their flocks and livelihood. Will you help them find what is harrying them? Complete at least 3 of the following events linked to this story finale. So, herding the Malhoons, repairing fences, robo-rustlers, the worried witness, giant tracks, pick, and event. So, I guess we're going to roll. Let's roll. Here, roll a d6. Let's see what happens. I will abide by their dice roll. I rolled a 1. So we're going to start with herding the Malhoun. Herding Malhoons. Malhoons? That's small. Okay. The herds of giant beasts are restless, their heads bucking in confusion. Heavy horns scrape up the turf as they pant and paw at the expense of paddock. There have been many attacks in this, and the herd needs movement. Herding is not going to be a task. Can you help these farmers wrestle like a flocking cow? What farmer approaches you? Ask. What do you think of the towering? How does your mech respond to interacting with them? Helping the farmers with the herding required 2. Okay, let's answer these questions first. Answer these questions. Check. All right. First things first. We never discussed what Kid the mech looks like. All right. We described my pilot, Saasi, who is a horse girl. Dark blue body hair, white eyelashes, white eyebrows, white head from her hair, in a tightly, very thick braided mane hair that goes from the top of her head all the way down to her. Like it would sort of like lay on the back of the horse part of her body. Whereas overall it covers most of the horse body and like the top part of the horse legs and sort of mechanics jackets, sort of stiff, lovingly worn, patched up jacket that covers her arms. My mech though, Kid is also has a centurion body. Kid sort of emulate Kirve's body and physique. Meaning there's that humanoid torso with 1 head and 2 arms, and has a longer sort of emulating horse body, 4 long legs. Let's see. Kid is a light mech is a lightweight mech. Say that sentence. Lightweight mech. So it's sort of slimmer build instead of tankier, meaning Kid has the potential probably moving up. Kid is probably really good at moving up cliff sides, mountains, terrain. So I'm going to say that Kid's knees, Kid's legs are sort of double jointed. You can go sort of any direction. I'm going to say that Kid has probably been Kid has. Gosh, I'm just gonna scroll down so you should of this four-legged cat. Even that's a different story beat. That's sort of the mech I'm describing, the shape of it. Again, I'm describing as you see the picture, the humanoid torso, 2 arms, 1 head, a horse body with 4 legs on the sort of slimmer side instead of sort of built. The control center of the mech, I'm going to say, is front part of the mech's horse body. So in front of the horse lower body and the top of the abdomen, somewhere in there. The controls to this mech are not in the chest or in the head. So, right, so Saasi would fit comfortably standing, but I don't think Saasi could like rear up on back leg in this. That would be a guaranteed head bump. And I'm pretty sure Saasi would have done that multiple times, or even probably learning how to pilot the mech. Maybe got thrown back a bit and her head rang a few times. There's probably like a really old, plushy, eaten, threadbare pillow tied up to that Saasi's head has not met in a long time. Meaning it really was there. Hi. Hispanic. Above. Yep. Me. And was painted over. I'm going to say there is a thick amateurish paint job all over Kid, like this sky blue sort of paint, and Kid is covered in bumpers across all of their travels and maybe cool merchants, cool shops. If they had a sticker, they're plastered all over the outside of Kid. Because Kid has so many of these stickers over its body, I imagine that maybe some unsavory people or some companies, institutions, organizations said, oh, I can stick my sticker here too. So Saasi has probably had to perform some visual maintenances and make sure that like unsavory stickers get immediately scraped off. We keep them wholesome. There are pride flags in this galaxy's equivalent thereof, rainbow flag, progressive flags, all over Kid's body as well. There's watermelons, all stickers in various places over Kid's body, etc. Cool. All right, let's answer some of the questions. Can you help these farmers wrestle their mega items? To be determined. We're going to try. Be reading. All right, so the Malhoons, these massive sort of goat creature, they're in this paddock, but there is something natural here that is unsafe, and they need to just be sort of moved all at once, rounded up, cowboy style, to a different. What farmer approaches? Yes. I'm gonna say that these particular Malhoun belong to a co-op where the farmers raise Malhouns for their wool. And this wool is clothing, certain Malhouns that are raised in certain conditions. Their wool can also be sometimes woven in like this very soft, durable, almost waterproof that feels less synthetic. That's probably high value, but the wool can also be done as young as it. So sort of an accessibility. So the farmer that approaches me are members of the club, and I'm going to say it's this particular Malhoun farm is owned by a family. Let's say that it's a couple. Let me see what sort of couple I have. I'm gonna roll. Spouse one is Irvan. That means they are towering bear-like mountains. And spouse is human-esque Apollonian. A bear plus so it's this couple. Oh, and they have a child adopted. Origin is Kairos. Winged nocturnals. Ooh. I can imagine the Kairos themselves, but if you have a child who flies, it's gotta be extra work. Holy moly. With Kairos child. Just a reminder, in my games, children come to no harm. Babies and children, zero harm comes. Danger, nothing happen to child. Very good. Right. Back to research. So that's the farmers. They're both femme identifying people. One is Irvan, bear. Person has a bear physicality, and the other is. And they have an adopted Cairo child, which is a sort of flying nocturnal species. Interesting. So their adopted child sleeps during the day and has awake at night. Oh, if that's not what you're originally used to, that's a this family does its best. This family absolutely does its best. So we're sort of arriving late afternoon. This would be the parents' sort of morning time because they're awake more at night to help their children. That's why they need my help in particular, not just because the Malhoun big and overwieldy, but this is a job that is really hard to do at night without the help of Big Robot. Big Robot. What do you think of these are not intelligent, sentient creatures, sapient creatures. I'm going to give them sort of goat-like, what I think characteristics. There's the art for them. Equally goat. They typically don't call, they don't respond to voices like come here or giddy up like a traditional horse would do, or like a dog or a cat. Oh my, dogs. So they really have to be herded in that tradition sense. I'm gonna call them a bit stubborn, but I'm also going to say that they are very unfazed, brave. They don't realize how much danger they're in because they sort of rely on their size to deter other dangers. And most things are smaller than they are. They sort of act like we're big, nothing will harm us. But they can be quite easily harmed. That's why they need sort of this intervention to live. So I think these Malhoons are. They could make my job a little easy. Could you please have some sort of sense of self-preservation? But these Malhoons don't have. So I'm going to say, I think Malhoon is running notes for himself. I'm not going to like write everything I'm dictating. Need more of self-preservation. Grimace face. Cool. So this is already like, a little annoying. But I take it in stride because that's sort of funny too. How does your mech respond? My mech is established as shepherd trait. So if I didn't have a direct input to my mech, or if I was physically outside of it, my mech's ion core, my mech's parts, usually just like observe and I think Kid would try to copy the Malhoons for a bit. Say Kid is like curious. Copies. Like it sees a Malhoon like hop onto a rock like a goat. A Kid hops onto another rock. It sees a Malhoon sort of putting its head down to like nibble on bushes. Like grass might be enough for it. Kid lowers their large mech head to the ground. Kit doesn't have a mouth that opens or closes or eats or chews, but sort of nuzzles their heads down as if Kit might see the Malhoons do number 2. It's like pebbles. And Kit might wonder what we can try to throw out. Maybe Kit opens a latch and tries to shake out some of my luggage, like my towels or my basic amenities. I'm like, Kit, no, that is not waste. This is waste. They are performing a waste function that you do not have or need. Please do not emulate this, as my items are not waste kits. And there's this sort of the lights inside the Mac piloting it sort of have this blue-green wave across the lights saying that it understands what I'm. But Kit is also kind of cheeky about. Of course, you're. Got you. But we won't do it again. Got you. We sort of have this sort of cheeky understanding. We're friends. Okay. Helping the farmers with herding will require 2 checks. First is a mech brawn check to stop the Malhoons splintering. If failed, you'll take 2 damage. You have to physically manhandle a rogue buck back to the herd. Alright, so let's do this first. So, 2 farmers have explained the situation. This is point A. We have another fenced off range across this island, green mountain, windy. And we have buggies that we use to meet the Malhoons. They're sort of trained to come back at night to sleep, but they don't know this new place. We cannot possibly do it in our vehicle. Your help, we need guys, we need your stature. And Kit and Saasi, let's meet the pilot, are up to the task. Okay, so we're going to roll a mech. I have a 1, 2, 1, so I believe 4 and up were successes. That's okay. I simply did not pass. I'm not going to use a bond. How does that play out? Kid and I are literally sort of galloping in a sort of a letter U lined pattern around the Malhoun herd as we're trying to keep all of the Malhoun one moving body. These Malhoun are very stubborn. They really like the grass where they are now. And it's close to dusk. They have to. There's a little bit of urgency because as it gets dark, this will get very hard to hurt. There is indeed one or two more stubborn Malhoun bucks that really sort of almost shoulder check my mech. And they're like to my neck's knee. So rather than an important height, I can take my balance off. They're like, we're not going to go anywhere. Screw you. I'm going to go over here. Meh. Okay, I'm going to take 2 damage as it literally has to sort of like crank itself up and engage its body to almost pick up a Malhoun. And normally this would be all right, but this Malhoun is large, massive, as my mech is lightweight. And as this Malhoun is sort of, this rogue buck Malhoun is sort of kicking and making it difficult, its hooves are thrashing, and its 4 massive horns are bucking as its head is shaking back and forth. And I sort of hear the crunching of the metal as Kit takes 2 damage to its 2 damage to its shielding. I'm gonna drop down from a 34 to a 32 and lower that on the count. So it's already not going very well. We've guessed, hi, welcome in. We're just playing cozy games. Thank you. Okay, after we're going to do a pilot presence check. If successful, you manage to corral the herd to the new attic safe. Guidance. Okay. I have Kit sort of, again, massive bucking Malhoun goat under its arms and with its 4 legs sort of galloping behind the herd back and forth in a U-shaped, pushing it in a specific direction. It's getting dark, so the floodlights outside of Kit sort of guiding the way. There might be all sorts of sounds around me. Nocturnal birds are starting to call out. This was, we determined, a sort of unsafe place, but we don't know from what. All right, let's make a pilot presence. I'm going to roll a D. Six plus 1 total 7. So I succeed very much in how. Okay, this needs sort of a more. I'm gonna go on the mech as a loudspeaker. Project my voice from the outside. I'm going to do a babe. I'm gonna call a babe with this amazing role. In the movie Babe, about a pig who learns how to corral and shepherd sheep for a ornament show, Babe gets to understand the sheep and then talk to the sheep in like this ancient traditional sheep language. And Babe the pig sort of bleats it out. I haven't had the time to understand these stubborn goats, but I do my Babe edition or my Malhoun edition of the Baru Ray. I'm just sort of winging. Like, what sort of silly sounds I've been hearing from? And I notice as Saasi, is bleeding over the loud system. Thank God there's no one else on this mountain, right? I noticed that a certain combination of bleating, all the goats sort of like stop and turn their heads as if I've spoken a language. I don't know how to speak goat. I'm not speaking goat. Sort of say it again. And they sort of line up. Hey, I'm going to tentatively drive Kit to the front. Say that bleating sound again, the ba, ba. And they sort of line up V formation behind me. And I'm a bit flabbergasted that this cost Kit some shielding. And as I'm sort of marching forward, making these bleating sounds, Kid, my mech, is sort of flashing these white lights at me in this sort of diamond pattern that ripples. And I read it to understand that Kit is sort of trying to say, how come you get it and I don't? How come? But what I did didn't work. Why the heck is your bleeding working? So this is from like amused confusion emanating from Kit. So I'm going to make a note for myself. I have amused confusion from Kid, other than Kid, as Saasi bleats. All right, and if you are successful in both checks, gain half that. If you fail both checks, it takes all day and. All right, so that didn't happen. It's getting close to full night. The last sliver of sun is. The sky is this purple, orange color. Some cooler wind. This was a windier place, but now the winds are wetter, are colder. There is the sound of this planet's equivalent of crickets, of insects trilling, as I'm just sort of marching Kid along, bleating over the loudspeaker. Goats in view formation, these malhoons behind me. I see the new corral where the two farmers were ahead. And I immediately think I need to stop because they'll hear me bleat. You know what? Saasi's face flushes. Embarrassing but funny, but you know what? It's working. And they were having so much trouble. The farmers were so anxious about them. They were genuinely. Why not demonstrate that we learned something to help out their herd? So I swallow the second of shyness, of embarrassment, and I continue proudly bleating meh, forward as the two farmers sort of laughing and slack-jawed welcome in Malhoun's corral. The Malhoun's walk in orderly. The large, tall fence behind where these Malhounds. Yay, we did a thing. So that was one. That was one story event. I guess we're going to complete time, maybe one, a little faster. Okay, so I'm going to roll a die, and I'm going to roll any one I get. Cool. All right. I rolled a 2. Repairing the fences. Go to story event number 2. That's whatever has been stealing livestock from the herds has busted through the paddock's perimeter fences. Tall posts strung with thick electrified cable are no joke. Whatever shredded it must have had a considerable amount of power. You help the farmhand clear it before people who works alongside you. Okay, so let's take another day. The Malhounds have been successfully delivered in the event, and Kit and I went back to the original settlement, and we found some rest and relaxation. I totally would have gone to the library and picked up our analog books, paper piece, or is it like a sort of institute or establishment full of a lot of like discs or micro discs or chips or something where you just sort of get that in? I'll say the latter. It's like a library of ebooks, so to say, and you get certain files. And because this mech had been retrofitted from wartime, it probably doesn't have natively about these. So I'm gonna get books about all this sort of livestock, especially those local in the planet, the system. And I'm going to upload it to Kid. And I'm going to put on the narration feature, like the read aloud feature. And as I'm listening as a pilot, and as Kit is also learning these uploaded, the lights in the neck sort of resemble surface of gently. There's a sort of calmness, velocity about what we're at. But then the farmers actually managed to send us a message when we're in the settlement, update us that the tall fences to the outpost where we delivered the Malhoons have already been damaged. The Malhoons were moved to this new place because of these. Now these cities have been disabled. These are really large and they got custom. Don't have it in the bank. Paired by ourselves with some. You did such a. Here's some. And I'm going to say that Kid and I have the. Let's say we're not too worried about the money, or in this, have the means to help. So we're help. Okay. Can you help the farmhands repair it before? Determined. Who works alongside you? Okay. I'm going to say that these two farmhands work alongside. Repairing defenses. Need to be repaired before night. So I'm here again at a just before dusk situation. I'm going to say that the Irvin parents, the one of the parents that has the very tall, thick, bear-like body, is the one helping me. Let's give them a name. Gonna be really cheap and easy. I'm going to call this person Osa. Spanish, feminine, therefore bear. Osa. Ide. Osa got up early and will be directly working alongside me outside the mech in this sort of fast, zippy moving open air buggy. Has like a little trailer with tools and extra. Is very familiar. And of course, with her wife, unnamed flying nocturnal Cairo child, are threatening them. They're very thankful that, and very curious to see if there's other insight we can. Okay, so I have Osa helping me. I'm gonna say, as mentioned, with the buggy and a trailer full. We're going to make a mech brawn check to get to work on the fences. Mech brawn is -1. Okay, Okay, 5 minus 1, 4. 4 and up is a success. So I am successful. I gain +1 mech dealing with the Robo Rustlers. Alley Wild Wolf. Oh no. Okay. I'm going to manually edit on it that I have +2. With Osa's help. Oh, I imagine it like this. Since my mech it has Centurion sort of, and Osa is also a physically larger person, being hid my mech like a horse lowers their legs to kneel down the whole way. And I'm also a fairly larger being myself being sort of the centurion curate. With our bigger physicalities, we can sort of elevator things up and down kid's body, get to those higher parts of the fence. With this brawn check as well, we can carefully have kid go on its hind legs. So kid as a mech has even higher a height reaching. And the successful brawn check demonstrates that we did this in such a carefully balanced manner that we didn't topple these. Ursa and Saasi myself were able to go up and down body and bring up the spanner, bring up the wrench, check the circuitry box, and we were able to move really quickly and re-engage electrical cabling. And then as the first stars in the sky are peeking out as that moves the sky, its brightness and that familiar hum comes back. No fences. Cool. So it was a success. We used kid as elevator to reach and repair in the faster. Okay, we're going to roll. We're going to re-roll the 1 or the 2. Four. Worried witness. Do I get bonus? Well, I already got. Double checks. When I level up or something. Oh, if I use my comp, I did not back its box in it. I rolled low enough that it mattered. Actually, yeah, I rolled a 1 on a die, so I'm Smart Cars got a. Oh, we're not. Okay, let's just. Oh no. I still want to answer the question. How does my mech feel? Mech is impressed with what's the word? Only the Dutch word like samenwerking, collaboration, teamwork. Impressed with teamwork. Okay, I rolled a 4. Rolled a 4. Right? Yes, the worried witness. Okay. A farmhand is brought into town, gibbering wildly about something that attacked their watch, covered in cut, eyes wide, their eyes wide saucers blink unless the who is this? Calm them down. Hey, Kid and I returned to the settlement, which was swampy, steaming marshes kind of place. I imagine the settlement itself might have a lot of platforms where mechs and other larger vehicles parked or can be stationed for repairs, etc. Easy access. But there's a lot of the town that is also on the raised platform so that the base marshland itself is protected. It's not drained or paved over, but rather there's elevated bits that are for humanoid or non-mech out. So I'll say that there are probably portions of mechs really could not go without destruction accidental happening. So Saasi does now get a lot of neck sort of coming back once or twice a day, probably sleeps inside the piloting area in Kid back. And she actively just sort of talks on like, hey, I ran into this place. I found this little place that actually and they make these lovely felted, and I actually bought like this little multiple file hanging in, and it's like literally this mobile with lots of that. I guess it's originally or important. There's no wind here. As I take my hand and I brush the ball so they internal lights inside kit almost replicate the exact move balls. There's a childlike wonder and sweetness. Happy about it. But indeed, some days pass later, and this really concerned, scared farmhand has arrived. And as mentioned, that's the word gibbering wildly. There's some sort of okay, who is this farmhand? Is this farmhand? I'm going to roll on origin table. 6, let's roll. A 1. The farmhand is Apollonian. You know what? I'm going to say that it sort of looks like the image, like the person placed in this. So I'm going to give them sort of olive skin complexion, textured hair that is braided in a protective style across their face, and on the sides of their face as well is where eyes that you can eyes delta patient see through, and is just speaking really, really fast, really, really all in one breath, panicked, worried, jumping to. Let's give them a name. I have dice in front of me. Dice, Dion. They, them. No, I'm going to say that the visor is something that is a an apparatus that helps them see. So they're visually impaired, but this sort of cool tool uh, helps provide some but directly to the brain because sci-fi, so they can sort of see outlines, shadows, maybe because it's connected to them neurologically. This intense rush of makes their visual sensors less clear, right? Maybe they can see at like same FPS as all of us, but maybe not in as a high resolution. But because of this additional stress, that resolution is worth. Maybe they them uh, visually impaired and their heightened emotions are making function a bit, but they can still perfectly see and comprehend what's happening. Okay, can you calm them down and get in back them? All right, so we're going to make a pilot presence check. I have a +1 to my presence. Happens. Ooh, so that's a 2 plus 3. So this is not a successful roll. Let's remind myself. Iron. Gauge your iron core combat to get one of the following. Are more mech specific with ionic. Believe that art. This apparently but I also time that works to link things wrong. That's fun. It's quick action. Here we go. Your pilot can push themselves beyond the bridge back to pilot failed. Okay. Mm, you know what? No, I won't. And I'm going to make myself not meta. Because if I succeed, I get useful information. If I don't, I don't. So that will make the final event exciting. So, uh, Dion really can't get a comprehensible sentence out just speaking a mile a minute. It's clear they're stressed and maybe some people on come in like try to put with consent their arms on Dion's shoulders, bring them water, try to talk over Dion to lead exercises, kind of start asking like, do you want to be heard or do you want solutions? And Dion needs a mental health break. Mental health pause is not in a. He needs. They need to sort of collect themselves first yes, there is urgency, but it would be unsafe or unkind to put on for at this. We're going to have to find some other. So the presence check. No useful. I'm sure Dion feels really bad. This probably comes out in a very fast, like, machine gun of work. Um, Saasi is there and is sort of, as Dion is being led away by friends. We will find it. We will find a way. You told us we're going to be on alert at the very least. We will find a way, and when you're able, you let us know. But we're going to put everything we can to do together. We'll reverse engineer it. We got this. Dion is led away. Call me, soft, and between you and me, above the table, of our little one-person table, this information probably will not reach me in time. Okay. Let's do one more event really fast and get to the. Okay, complete at least 3. Oh, 1, 2. This was the third. No. In that case, we go to the final. Cool, cool. All right. The finale. The wild wolf. The tops of the trees shaken quickly. Large pushes attic. A long snout of plated metal sits above a mouth of sharp teeth. The groaning of a metal end roars into a howl as the fusion of metal and flesh raises the wild cry subsides into a snarl as the head lowers, yellow eyes fixing you, sharp and hungry. What is it? How does it make you? How does it seeing this? This farmer's. All right, so Saasi has run back. Doc, her kid is having. Saasi feels a bit as well stressed that their efforts to calm down Dion weren't. But something stressed Dion. He believes Dion. He has to go now, even if there is quite a bit of a lack of information. LEDs braided in her long hair sort of reflect this. We're not winning at the moment, but we have to go try anyway. I leap into my mech kid, and the light sort of vibrates. Saasi reads it as, "What's going on? Is everything okay?" And Saasi, the pilot, immediately just sort of lordoms. Dion was stressed. Dion was care. Dion mentioned the beast. Dion mentioned big. Dion mentioned dangerous. There's these flashes of like yellow lights inside kid. Probably asking clarification question. Location, designation, size, mech class, and all Saasi can. I don't know. The flashes from Kid sort of get faster and faster. Kid is probably impatient and also growing concerned. Kid has this idiosyncrasy, this specialization. It really cares for animals. And this lack of info to guarantee success is also stressful. as we're sort of having, but I don't know, to these full of clarifying questions. I think Saasi sort of feels kid moving without that initial direction. Um, and Saasi Porter says, like, you know what? Let's go back to the farm where we corralled the Malhoun goats away from. I know that you repaired the fence a few nights ago, but maybe they have to have given up there. Maybe they went back trying to find stragglers, or someone else saw an empty. We have to go back first. Making a wild guess. Right. The wild wolf is a strange and feral enemy, one which cannot be talked down out of a... Okay, so we're going to go into combat. This talks about what happens after defeat. We're not there. So here is art of the wild wolf, capital W. Meant to be unholy amalgamation of metal and biology. Someone did this, I think. Right? These things don't organically appear in the wild. Like, it has sort of nanite bots or something that over... Are there wolves this big naturally? Because there is metal on. Right? You have to have had the biological part first, right? And like, I can imagine that as Saasi's asking these questions out, like that's like, what sort of deeper bad things may have happened? I don't know. But right now, this wild wolf is killing other creatures. But if it's a mech, it shouldn't need to eat. Right? And Kid, the mech, in this moment will remember that they tried to emulate that goat. They kind of put their head down into the grass and pretended to nibble bushes and grass like the goats did, like the mouth, just to sort of learn and copy behavior. It can't really eat, right? It can't process food. Fuels in that regard. Why is this wild wolf killing and we have to stop it. Okay. So we learned that the wild wolf is an experiment created by Dragnos in come to biological mechanical to create the mecha equivalent Acton. Ooh. I'm going to write down these stats as I go back to the battle section. Threats. 2. Next sheet. I don't think mine resets. I think there I didn't specifically narrate back up, so I'm gonna keep it at 32. As a ranged weapon is a sonic howl. I have to read what that does. Damage 4 as a melee weapon. A lichen claws. Damage 6. That seems like a lot when my my shielding is at 30. Any other information? Yes, do that. Do the... Okay, let's go to combat. We are running. We are dashing. Going back outside of the settlement. Grassy. We really fast swing by the original farm where we helped Osa, Urian person, and their family with. They crank up the defenses on that fence because whatever is out harming them is around. Contact me if you see them. I'm gonna go look for it. And Kid and I dash off, galloping. I'm gonna say it's like proper nighttime now. Full moon is out. There's a sea of stars. The grass is blowing in sheets. Like the grass is almost how hard the wind, how tall these grasses are. Kid on as a quadrupedal mech running, galloping. Eventually across a bend, we see like a rock just flying by, and we immediately know only something like us, like a mech, likely has the capacity to do that. Okay, combat takes place in rounds, which order shown section. Combat rounds continue to loop around until your mech is disabled. Capital D as a condition. All enemy mechs are disabled, or one party disengages, or both sides agree to fighting. It's been made clear that this wild wolf will continue fighting. A mech is disabled when its shielding drops to 0. It can no longer move or in combat, but it's not destroyed because we said we can Deus Ex Machina. Before combat starts, you may try to intimidate or reach opponents, but only if they're keeping communication. It said that we cannot do that. Alright, so we can't take that. So we're going to roll a d6. For the on a 4 plus your mech has initiative. Apply your mech reflex modifier to this. I have a +2. My it is fast. Roll. That's a total 5. So Kid and I will start. All enemies attack at the same time. It's me, Kid. This sky blue painted mech covered in bumpers. With a centurion bodies, long horse body, 4 legs, double jointed, sort of torso, humanoid torso with 2 arms and a singular head. The outside lights of the mech are glowing like red, orange, yellow, sort of circulate. Danger, danger. And Kid is sort of fainting in and out, stepping like almost a boxer, darting in and out, demonstrating it is wild. Okay, I guess we sort of have to. Yeah, because running away, disengaging from combat means that the wild wolf arming. So I'm going to say that me personally, should this combat end in my favor, hopefully, this will be with disabling but not destroying opponent. I have a number of attacks each round. I have 3 attacks. I do no attacks. I do minus up to my. Only use range weapons. Range step and make. Okay, so as I'm darting in and out, while we have some distance from wild wolf, Kid is going to its ranged weapon. Gun? Defensive system. Range. The railgun. And does attack must use up to 2 attacks to combat. Okay. I have 3 attacks. I can use 2 that rail. Does that just Okay. During each set of combat, roll a number of the fish on your target. Each 4+ equals successful hit. Roll the d6. for the 5. That's one successful hit for a ring. I mailed. All right. And thus damage shown on the weapon profile. Unmodified roll of 6. So if you roll a natural 6 on the die, you score a crit. 5 there. I think that's just straight 5. So I'm going to roll damage. That's going to be 8 plus 6. Math. Automatically going to do 8 damage plus 4. So that's 10. 5, 6, 9, 10. So as Kid is sort of darting back and forth, I'm gonna say that both of Kit's arms are going to combine together, and they're each have some sort of gears come down and lock in place. And I'll say that this sort of second of preparation, why it takes 2 turns to do attack versus that 1 attack, and it forms that railgun. So as Kid's 2 arms come together, this light up hum happens, and a series of lights travel from the back of the gun to the front as a beam of light shoots out towards Wild Wolf. I'm gonna say specifically at its front metal legs to try to slow it down so we can sort of stop it. And this is going to be very successful because I just rolled it took a total 10 damage with that roll. And I can use one more attack. And as we see that metal wolf sort of like fall forward on its front 2 legs as they've been damaged by the railgun, Kid is going to move forward for a melee attack. So use the last of my attacks. That's going to be with a molecular whip. So the railgun comes undone, and Kid again has these 2 arms. And coming from Kid's left palm hand is going to be this long, light extension that sort of looks like a long braid, long laser braid that sort of flops around. And sort of folded outwards, this braided light shoots out straight, and we're going to call that its molecular. So we're going to roll a d6. So this is now the melee step. Roll d6 equals the number of attacks. I have 1 attack here. Also, should have. I rolled a 4 plus success. This does not hit. So as Kit sort of tries to shoot this retracting braided purple light, the wolf rolls, like literally falls flat on its side and rolls over like a dog. Its 2 front feet were already down. Okay, now I believe the wolf. Enemies make a number of attacks in each step equal to their threat level. The wolf has 2 threat levels. 2 attacks. Roll a d6 for each attack made by the enemy. On a 4 plus, you successfully defend yourself and receive no damage. On failure, you receive damage to your mech equal to the damage shown on the enemy's profile. Unmodified roll of 6, you deflect damage back to the attacker in half of the damage they would have done. Okay. So let's look up. enemy. Oh, I guess the one affecting them. But Ida, you wrote it down. Have that. That's our combat. 2 threat level. Going to make 2 attacks. So we're first going to in melee. I'm going to roll 1. It's going to have 1 melee and a range attack. So we're going to roll 1d6 for that melee damage. Try to see if I can defend against it. Okay, I do not successfully defend. This was with its lichen claws. So as Kit was getting close to try to hold it down with its molecular whip, this sort of roll action of the wolf meant that its claws sort of rotated up and around, gets to clip the front torso side of Kit, my mech. And the damage is going to be just flat 6. Whoa. Okay, so I'm going to take my key marker and mark that down for 20. Ouch. Okay, so and my wolf friend is going to make a melee attack. So at this point, it's going to, as it finishes in its roll, swiping me with its metallic claws, using its hind claws, sort of jump backwards, and is going to howl in such a way that everything around the area trembles, and my mech is starting to shake from the howl. Like Saasi, the pilot inside, like has her hands on her. Let's see if I can defend against the attack. I need to 4 or higher. I rolled a 1. This is where I'm going to use Ion Core Sync Bond. All right, let's remind ourselves what that is. We're going to essentially seed Force Bond. So, what does this? Yield full power. I will save you. That's not relevant. Yes, not us. Meteoric Thunder Strike, not us. Evasive. No, that's us. I'm going to do shield full power. As this wolf is howling and Saasi kind of covers her ears, she's starting to curl. This is hurting her very much. Kid's metal plates are shaking, but Kid, through the bond that we have, notices that their pilot is hurt. And we're going to engage the ion core and sort of give this temporary boost to. So we're going to increase the mech. So we get to roll 3d6 maybe. Okay. Alright, I will remember how to roll again. There we go. Yikes. Whoa. 9, 12. I'm going to add 12 shielding or HP. Nice. Saasi is like no longer actively piloting, is curled over. And all of a sudden, all the lights go like ultra bright white inside the mech. That Saasi sort of has to her hands slide off her ears to her eyes, but she notices that the howling isn't hurting her anymore. And Kid has essentially tanked Owl. I believe that the range will still do, the attack still does damage, but it effectively tickles. Take that damage. 36. I have expended an ion. All right, that's the wolf attack. It's Kid and I's turn. Let's go back. And I'm in melee. Okay. I'm going to whip. Let's do one back here. I need to or higher. 2. Okay, I have 3 more attacks. I'm going to just sort of keep going with that melee. +1. Oh, I can add a +1 to hit with this weapon when in melee step of combat. That is what I'm doing, but that still wasn't enough. So roll another die, another d6 if it's a 4 or higher, or 3 or higher in this case. Then two. No, that fails. Again. Ooh. I have 1 more attack, and I'm going to try. That is a 6. That succeeds. I believe something happens when I roll a natural. I apply, I score a critical hit, and I apply +4 damage to that attack. Apply your Mech Brawn modifier. So, Kid had temporarily increased the shielding on its body, and this giant metallic wolf finished rolling over. And at this point, Kid is desperately trying to molecular whip to try and trip and like tie up the dog to immobilize it. This dog is rolling and snapping. Attempt 1 fail. Attempt 2. Saasi feels herself like getting rocked at the controls within the mech, as this mech is it's quadruped against quadruped. There is a tangle of, and all of a sudden, Saasi can hear through the mech, even without like audio usage, the yelp of the metallic wolf as we land a critical hit. So, what was that? It's going to be a 4 plus a D plus another 4. So it's going to be 8 plus D6. 5. That's 13 damage. Right. And you get to add your Mech Brawn modifier to melee damage. Oh, so -1. Erase. This metallic wolf not looking so. It still has the strength to keep going, but he sort of attacks as the molecular whip ties around its legs and tries to trip it. Paneling comes, sort of wires intertwined with like the dirty, matted hair. Okay, doggo goes. I have to roll defense. I rolled a 6. On an unmodified roll of 6, reflect the damage back to your attacker, and they suffer half the damage they would have dealt to you. Alright, so this wolf had 2 actions, and this was its melee. So as the wolf's giant feet are being tied up in this molecular whip, it tries to kick off and move like this bundle of metal claws its face. But doing so sort of starts breaking off the metallic portion of this beast metal hybrid. And doing that, I'm going to say, will damage it. Normally takes 6 damage, so it does me 3 damage. I'm going to reflect 3 damage back onto it. 1. Ooh, this thing's on his last legs. All right, it's going to do 1 more melee attack, and I'm going to attack. Or try to. That does not succeed. No, let's just eat back then. All right, it's going to do 4 damage. No, 6 damage. Holy, okay. Yep. I am down to 30. I started with 34. I took some damage in adventures. I got a pretty heavy hit, but then Kid pulled extra shielding, attacked the pilot instead. Okay, Kid and Saasi go. Oh, and then we're okay. I have 3 attacks. I think I'm just gonna go with melee. That's a 6. That's a natural 6. That's another critical hit. All right. In that case, I get to do the molecular whips is 4 plus these. On a critical hit, I apply 4 to that attack. So that is 8 plus d6. Apply your mech broad modifier to melee damage. That is -1. So 7 plus d. 5. 12. Well, 1, 2. We have dealt 7 damage over its ship. So, how do we want to do this, essentially? Go. Hey, this wolf is thrashing. It is trying to ash at me. Wolven face augmented with metallic awe, reaching up to bite at me. At this point, I'm gonna say with that defense, it manages to tie up all 4 of its legs. 2 of its legs are in bad condition. Metal bits have off. And Kid is essentially sitting on the side of this wild wolf, immobilizing it. The wolf keeps thrashing, keeps trying to throw Kid off. Kid is a mech, the specialist caring for. Don't know whether this wolf is the original biological form was local here. But it's also in harm. The mech has a goal of wanting to. One of the earlier adventures was where Saasi, the pilot, got lucky and started bleating goats. Got the goats to listen. I think you see the lights sort of lower in and outside kits. Where originally the outside of the mech had these cycling red, orange, and yellow danger, incoming, threat. The lights dim and they sort of go like purple, blue, and white, maybe. As the servos in kit start sort of whirring at different speeds to a frequency that can be heard. You know, when your computer sort of is working extra hard and its fans might turn on, you might hear a whir. There's this whir coming out of it. And it takes a couple of seconds for that whirring sound to sort of be calibrated. Sound like as close as you can with servos. This very soft ow, ow, soft, gentle ow. And Kit is going through high-pitched, low-pitched, long sounds as it continues sitting on the wild wolf, thrashing with its legs tied up, until one of those awoos makes the wolf just stop. The wolf kind of lays quietly. Now it can sort of hear the heavy panting of the wolf as it was really exerting it. Kit continues on that found awoo sound. And the wild wolf, instead of snarling, instead of howling, has this very mechanized, low sounding in the same pitch. Awoo. As Kid has sort of found the right frequency, sort of engage in the biological aspect of the wolf and find that one soothing tune. And with that, the wolf sort of calms down enough for using a lot of thrust. I think Saasi comes out of the mech, gallops over to where the wild wolf is lying prone with her own mech on top of it, tries to find a control panel, a battery pack, something, and quickly gets to work and finds some way to sort of disable the mechanized parts of the. She notices that the wolf still has some biological, and that does seem to be functioning on its own. Like this creature, this animal still has a bit of a heartbeat. Still has, I will say, still has eyes, but they're covered by plating, but their eyeballs are still. She senses the animal breathing, but unfortunately a bit immobilized because she is eventually turned off all the metal parts to it. I think the wolf might struggle, might be scared in this moment, but Kid, her own mech, sort of now understanding what sort of awoo suits the wolf, sort of tries to continue saying, it's all right, you're gonna be okay, just rest. Hey, how do the farmers react to you dealing with the beast? Do you plan to follow up with the workings of the Dragnos and with this? What do you do with the? I think Saasi leaves Kit with the wild wolf, sitting on the wild wolf, and they're sort of wooing at each other. And it's nighttime, and she is galloping as fast as she can. It probably takes hours, and she manages to make it to the farm with the original Malhoun farm where they had herded all the goats in. And because it's nighttime, those two farmers are awake because they have a nocturnal child. She bangs on the door saying, "We got it, but we need your help. And I also need some trust and understanding from you." Saasi and Kid have gone through quite some lengths to help these farmers. So the farmers are a bit incredulous. I'm gonna say the human comes with me this time, the Apollonian. The human, let's give her a name. Go with Spanish. Her name is Trenza. Trenza. Happens to mean braid in Spanish, so. We're going to say very pale skin. No, sorry, I have it other way around. Sort of tan, sun-kissed skin, but with vitigilo marks on one side of her face, her shoulder, her arms, and she has also, let's say, lots of small dark brown braids that are beaded at. That's her name, braid in Spanish, trenza. She hops on a buggy, and I can jump in with her probably faster than me galloping. And she opens like a communication line, like a radio, like a walkie-talkie something. Her wife, whose name was Osa, say, "Contact the village, contact Dion, tell them the thing has been under situation, but wait for further instructions." It's probably very naive on Saasi's part. I think that Trenza is very scared and suspicious and immediately thinks that's a monster. She sees the wild wolf lying down. We have to put it out. It's been harming the animals. And I think through the trust that Saasi has built with this farmer and explaining that it doesn't want to hurt anyone. This creature wanted to hurt Kit, and look, it did. She points at the dents. But it's here trying to soothe it because this wolf is also in. I think this resonates with Trenza, and it resonates with her wife, Osa. I think this is a harder sell to the townspeople. I think Dion's experiences were very valid. But I think getting to show that this wild wolf, in its own way, is a victim is going to prevail, and eventually I'm going to say the ending for this story, for the wild wolf at least, other mechs are going to be called in, and together we're going to like bring the wild wolf to the settlement. Like the wild wolf mechanical parts have been disabled by Saasi. And together with other mechanics and other pilots who know how to serve, we're going to remove weaponized mech parts that have been fused with the wolf, or disable as much as we can. Like, this wolf does not need razor claws. this wolf's howl does not need to reach supersonic levels or something, right? We remove any sort of malicious looking spikes on it, so it still has the sort of hybrid biological part and mech part. The mech part has been less. And as we're sort of going through this, we all feel like this rage and towards the Dragnos. And I think in the future adventure, we're going to go sort of find out what's happening and maybe stop this sort of patients, right? I'm getting like a really big Dr. Robotnik kind of vibe and harming woodland animals. We have to live. Kid is really proud of themselves. There is an active spring in Kid's step. There is like these sort of sunshiny, warm yellow, orange colors reverberating around Kid, inside Kid's cockpit. When Saasi is like, and you did this, and it was so cool when you did that, and oh my god, I couldn't believe it, but I had to because you're an awesome mech. And Kid feels that pride and feels that appreciation coming from Saasi. I think this helps kids' confidence, belief in their ability to catch up. And I think that's where ours. No, the wolf and Kid are becoming wolf because it has this sort of wolf biological aspect. We're going to say that once this programming to be violent, once more of it biological met, wolf doesn't have the need for violence. It's a bit more. It can be provided food or mechanical or food to feed mechanical parts. But after that, we kind of get doggo. We kind of get awesome doggo, and the story ends with Saasi sort of hanging on the outside of her mech, Kid, as Kid sort of runs behind our wolf boy, so that Saasi sort of actually feels the autonomy of her mech pooling while getting to enjoy that physical romping. And so that'll be the happy. Yeah, this would be a sort of counter. Yeah, that sets them definitely. All right, that's it for me. Oh, this stream. Oops, we're gonna end it right now. Thank you so much for joining me. As I played through Iron Heart by Parable Games, and if you're really interested, go check out Parable Games. They've released the full version. I only played through the quick start version. If you want to be a mech and you want to develop a friendship with your mech and you want a mech that can emotionally grow with you, definitely check this out. There were some of my own flavors I put into it. I didn't want my mech to be all about physical domination, but also like standing. And that's sort of the joy you get in solo RPG. You can sort of adjust the narrative, what you see, and the prompts really give you this nice springboard of where to assign conflict, where to assign. And for me, that's a really fun part about solo RPGs. It's the kind of thing I'm constantly hunting for, and I enjoy so much in team. But when I'm doing it myself, I can sort of like sprint in that literal direction. So that was Iron Heart. Check it out. And if you enjoy this sort of mech content, check out the rest of Mechtember here at Euphoria, where we are having all sorts of mech content, mech actual plays. We had a mech panel. What is a mech? I believe 10 Candles is coming up next week. 10 Candles is this horror RPG where the characters die, right? They die, they end. Those 10 candles get snuffed out. So That's not really a spoiler, it's what the game is about. But it's sad and tragic and beautiful. And it's also mechs. So absolutely check that out next week. Our schedules can be found on our socials. I believe that's going to be Monday. Pardon me for not remembering at the moment. It's been a hot minute. Also, the week after, one of our co-founders, my co-conspirator Darcy, they them, is going to be co-working and continuing creating a game for the mini mech game jam as well. Come make a mech game along with them, or do any other sort of co-working with them. It's really cozy. It's really structured, and if that's your jam, come by and hang out. We also have coming up one more stream before the end of the month. Will be our shout outs. Darcy and myself are going to shout out games we love from European based creatives, but make it mechs. So if you are a European based creator, let us know where you're from so we can verify this. And you have a mech based TTRPG or a module for a mech centric TTRPG, let us know. We want to hear about it. And if we can, we're going to shout it out on the stream. And when we shout out, we also link to the game where you can get involved. And we basically love on you. Because there are a lot of cool games, and I love cool games, but people often default that games are thus all based in the US because where the popular games have been on, right? I'm not going to hate on necessarily D&D or 10 Counts, etc. But sometimes it's cool to give a space to shout out creators aren't always like those in Europe, and especially European-based creators that are from marginalized communities. So marginalized genders, POC, immigrant, queer, neurodivergent, disabled, and based in Europe, 200% we want to hear your game. That is about mechs. So let us know, and Darcy and I are going to shout that out. And then we have all sorts of other cool programming happening for you. If you want to join our amazing community, check us out on all our socials. Join our Discord server, where we talk about what are mechs, what are sandwiches, Flammkuchen versus pizza. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun here. Drop those there. Cool. Find them below. If you want to find a bit about me, I've been Aida. You can find me at In the Pan on Blue Sky. I'm not so active there because I am in the editing cave making cool things for you. You'll see my work at 10 Candles. I worked quite a bit on that. Story made me emotional, but I had to give like an extra sort of spotlight to that production. I have a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful Mactember, and I'll see you around.